All right. Good morning, class. Thank you, Jim and Ali. I will wait for silence. Thank you, Kevin. So getting started, I actually want to show you a bit of an activity we're going to do today. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do is have Ali hand out these little handouts. Ali, if you don't mind handing those out for me, that'd be great. Thank you. And what I'm going to show you today is an activity that it's something you can incorporate into any lesson. It is something that can teach students about regions, about location, and about the physical and cultural characteristics of place. So not only is it really easy to organize, it's also really fun for students. And lastly, it's actually something that caters to all different learning styles. So it caters to kinesthetic learners, auditory learners, visual learners. So it's very inclusive in terms of the students that it attempts to reach. So what I'm going to do is, if you've got one of those, hopefully you've got one of those handouts in front of you, I'm actually going to direct your attention to a website that we've created to help guide you through this. So what we're going to do today is take a virtual field trip via Google Street View to Vimy Ridge in France. This is a part of a World War I unit. And actually we chose World War I because we wanted to show you that elements of geography can be incorporated into many different units. So geography is everywhere. It can be incorporated into foods, it can be incorporated into math, it can be incorporated into obviously social studies. But we did World War I to show you how elements of geography can work in unison with, within a history unit. So the website I want to direct your attention to is www.geography432.wordpress.com. So if you don't have a computer, maybe share it with someone else, look over someone's shoulder. But the website again is geography432.wordpress.com. And I'm just going to get it up here myself. And like I said, what we're going to do is take a virtual field trip to Vimy, France. So the handout that you've got is going to kind of work in unison with this website to help guide you to Vimy, France. And when we're there, we're going to look around at the natural landscape. What this is going to allow students to do is it's going to allow them to visit a part of the world they wouldn't otherwise be able to see. So you're actually going to get a visual image of what is actually there on the land. And it's going to help to reinforce some of the things that you've been talking about in the class. If you're talking about a really rocky, rugged landscape, this is going to allow students to see that actually, right in the places you're talking about. So if you've got the website, hopefully you've got the website up now, what I'm going to get you to do is, at first there's a little bit of information that just kind of refreshes students, refreshes their memory about what we talked about in Vimy Ridge. Okay, yeah, this is, we're talking about war times. If they need to familiarize themselves with old battles, then that information is there at the start of the page. But if you scroll down just below the spot that says Vimy Ridge, there's a little paragraph on why it was significant to Canadian history. It gives the students a little background knowledge. And then the third link that we have here, I'm just going to rush you through it. The third link that we have, or the first link down in the third paragraph, I want you to click on that. And it's the actual link that takes you to the Google Street View image of Vimy, France. So what shows up when you click on it is it's an image of a street, a tree-lined street, and what you can see in the far right corner is actually the Vimy Ridge War Memorial. So before we kind of peruse our way up there, what I would like you to do is pan left and right. You can do that by clicking on the left and right cursor keys on your keyboard. So if you hold right down, it should pan the view to the right, and you can see what the landscape is like. So now when you're showing this to students, it allows them to appreciate that wartime war actually affects not just the political and social landscape of areas, but it actually affects the physical geography of places as well. So when they look to the right, some of the questions, I think the second question on your handout says, what does the landscape look like? Why do you think it looks that way? So you can guide students towards things you want them to realize, and that's that war changes the actual physical landscape of these places. So when you look to the right, you see that it's really, really bumpy. and you can see how the war actually affected Vimy Ridge and the areas around it. So it's very good for students because they can actually see it, they can physically see what it looks like, and it kind of reinforces some of the things that hopefully you've been teaching them in the class. Are there any questions so far? Any questions? Yes, Lisa? That is a very good question. You do need internet access to use this resource at all times. So one thing I would recommend doing would be booking a computer lab in your class. Maybe if you don't have enough computers, students can pair up in twos and work on this assignment. But that is a very good point. You do need internet access to use this resource at all times. You do need reliable internet. So that's a very good point. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Helen? That is another excellent point. Google Street View does not work for every single place in the world. When Joseph was actually mentioning that Astana was the capital of Kazakhstan the other day, I tried to Google Street View Astana and it didn't show up. There are some places where it just doesn't work in certain parts of the world, but it does work in many places. You can go and visit the Coliseum, you can visit, I visited Dawson City, Yukon the other day, so it works for up there. I'm guessing that places like China might not really work, but it does work for a variety of areas. That's one thing I would recommend is checking ahead and seeing if Google Street View actually works for some of these places. And if it doesn't, you can always use an alternative. But it does work for the majority of places, but not all. So that is a very excellent point. Thank you, Helen. I appreciate you pointing that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you have a couple minutes just to maybe browse through some of these questions and use the website as a guide with the handout that you've got as well. You don't need to obviously fill these out for learning purposes, but take a look through both of them. Look what we've done on the website, look what we've done on the handout, and you can see how they kind of work in tandem to kind of guide students to where we want them to go. What I'm going to do now is actually pass this back to Jim and Ali and Dan, and they're going to take you through the rest of the presentation. So thank you for your attention, I appreciate it, and happy graduation, yeah?